What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. My name is Zach Ruger, surprising with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC, and we are back with a brand new episode, guys. It has been hectic. I've been working every single day, 10-hour shifts. I leave at 7 in the morning. I'm not home until 7:45 at night. It's crazy, but we're in the final stages. We're in the final stages, only 3 more days of this stressful work. Then I get Monday off. Then I work 4 days, which are not as stressful. It's a lot of it's training, following up with old clients, stuff like that. And then I get almost a full month off. Oh, it's going to be so lovely. And we're going to be bringing you a podcast episodes left, right, and center. But on today's episode, it is straight and simple as it's already 8:30 p.m. and I have to go to bed at 10. So we're going to just be covering UFC 323, the final pay-per-view of the ESPN era, because officially under Paramount, these aren't pay-per-views anymore. So we get 2 title fights. We have a pretty banger main card, a lot of interesting stuff. We're going to have some retirements. We're going to have some number 1 contender fights. UFC 323 has it all. So without further ado, guys, let's dive right on in and drop our official predictions for UFC 323. And we kick off the card, some decent prelims on this event, I will say. First up, the men's featherweight division as Muhammad Hilmanayov takes on Myron the Legend Santos. What a nickname. The Legend. Oh, how wonderful. Muhammad Naimov is 13-3. Myron Santos is 17-1. Wow. Did not realize he had that good of a record. 2 inches in height go to Naimov, and 2 inches in reach go to Santos. They both fight in the orthodox fighting position. Coming into this one, Muhammad Naimov is the underdog at plus 205. Muhammad Naimov is 31 years old, born in Tajikistan, now trains out of Denver. That's right, out of Elevation MMA. He has 5 KOs and 3 subs out of his 13 wins, and I believe he's only ever been finished once. That was by Felipe Lima by a rear naked chokehold, if I'm not mistaken, in June of 2024. Since then, he's gone 2-0 in 2025, and he's looking to end the year going 3-0. He beat Khan Offley in February by unanimous decision, and then beat Bogdan Grad by unanimous decision in June. So not the most impressive victories. Matter of fact, the biggest win in his career has probably been beating the Thing It Would by a very sketchy decision in October of 2023. And then obviously he knocked out Jamie Mullarkey in his debut. So Muhammad Naimov kind of is, labeled as one of the best fighters that come out of the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. And it just kind of shows that, they don't have the best level of talent, but the guy's 5-1 in the UFC. Does somehow hold 2 finishes. Now, one of them is an injury TKO. So we'll see how he does here as he takes on a guy who is very, very esteemed, Myron Santos. Minus 250, he is the big favorite here. 25 years young, from Brazil, now trains out of Las Vegas. He's currently on a 6-fight winning streak. Trains out at Extreme Couture, the same gym as Sean Strickland, Chris Curtis, number of UFC fighters. And of his 17 wins, he has 8 knockouts. Speaking of Khan Offley, who was the first win of the year for Muhammad Naimov, Myron Santos actually knocked him out in August of last year to win the Ultimate Fighter. Good for him. He then had a fight earlier this year in March where he knocked off Francis Marshall by unanimous decision and then beat Sodiq Yusuff by unanimous decision in May. So after a fight in March and a fight in May, he's finally getting one more before the year's end. So who will end the year 2-1 and who will end the year 3-0? We'll have to see, but so far, everything I've seen from Myron Santos, the guy's super talented. He had a really good knockout to win the Ultimate Fighter. Wins this year, 2 good unanimous decisions. And in terms of Naimov, he's probably going to rely more on the grappling. Santos is going to want to keep it on the feet. I'm liking Santos' odds here, but this is really a toss-up. And if you're looking for sneaky underdog predictions, Muhammad Naimov at plus 205, I would probably bet if I had to go off of underdogs on this card. I would rock with him, but in this case, I am not. I'm riding with Myron Santos. Next up, we move to the men's middleweight division. Oh, I thought these guys were light heavyweights. Oh, that's the fight after. Middleweight division as Mansour Abdul Malik takes on Antonio Malvado Tricoli. Mansour Abdul Malik is 8-0-1. Antonio Tricoli is 12-5 with a no contest. 6'6" to 6'2". Antonio has 4 inches in height, but 1 inch in reach goes to Mansour with an 80-inch reach. Wow. He is also 7 years younger. Both men fight in the orthodox fighting position. Mansour Abdul Malik is the biggest favorite on this card. Talk about minus 1,200 favorite. Yeah, Mansour Abdul Malik is a big favorite here. He's 28 years old, born in Pittsburgh, but now fights out of Maryland. 8 wins, 8 finishes, 7 KOs, and 1 sub. Came in off of last season's Day White's Contender Series in late November, knocking out Dusko Todorovic. Had a fight against Nick Klein earlier in the year in Seattle, and, dealt with some adversity in round 1, but was able to get the TKO in round 2. And then in June, had a fight against Cody Brundage, which was just so weird. Like, it was awful, and it was actually ruled a unanimous decision for Mansour Malik, and then was overturned a month or two later to a draw. So I have no idea. Mansour Malik is coming in, not with the most momentum. I mean, he freaking almost lost to Cody Brundage, which makes no sense. So, yeah, Mansour Malik coming in, a lot of momentum. He has that one iffy moment with the Cody Brundage fight, but they're giving him a layup here as he takes on Antonio Tricoli. We just saw this the other weekend with, I'm trying to think who they set up. It was whoever, oh my gosh, Almak Rakiaev, whatever his name is. He's the guy who won in 30 seconds. Oh my gosh, it's Yakiaev, whatever his name is. The person they gave him was absolute layup. Was it Julius Walker? No, Rafael Sequeira. This is the Rafael Sequeira of the middleweight division here. And Antonio Tricoli, look, we'll give him his flowers, okay? He's 34 years old. He's from Salvador, Brazil. He had 8 finishes of his career, 3 KOs, 5 subs. Of his 5 defeats, he's been finished 3 times. And these two were actually supposed to fight in Seattle. Now, what has Antonio Tricoli done since his last few fights? Well, he debuted against Shar Magomedov, got TKO'd. He then fought Tresean Gore in November of last year, got submitted. So now he's back. Taking a year off. We'll see if he looks improved. We could see a massive upset here. Yeah, but I'm not predicting that to happen. I'm going Mansour Malik, round 1 knockout. It's just too appetizing not to pick. And the dude swings. The dude has some hammers, 4 hands, and Antonio Tricoli has just shown nothing impressive. Like, I can understand, like, when Mansour was dealing with Nick Klein, he was a bit tougher than he thought he was. But Nick Klein and Cody Brundage, we at least know they have abilities. I mean, Antonio Tricoli has shown us nothing. So, Mansour Malik, round 1 knockout, take it to the bank. And Tricoli's a plus 700 underdog. Yeah, stay away from him. Next up, the light heavyweight matchup that I had in mind earlier, as Iwo Baranuski, his nickname is Rudy, takes on Ibo the Last Ottoman Aslan. That's right, Iwo Baranuski is coming into the UFC fresh off of Dana White's Contender Series. He is 6-0, Ibo is 14-3. 3 inches in height and 4 inches in reach go to Ibo, so a nice little size advantage. He also, they both stay on the orthodox stance, so similar there. And crazy enough, Iwo Baranuski is going to be the minus 210 favorite, as the plus 170 underdog is Ibo Aslan. Ibo is 29 years old from Turkey, and all 14 of his wins are by knockout. Of his 3 defeats, he's been submitted twice, funny enough. He was actually supposed to fight Junior Tafa in Perth to end out September, and that fight just never came to fruition. That's not his fault, though. I might throw that out there. Ibo came into the UFC in 2024 and was one of the best breakout fighters in the light heavyweight division. 2 wins, 2 knockouts, and then he got fraud checked earlier in this year in February, getting submitted by Ian Kudalaba. And then he lost an utterly boring fight in July to Billy Elikana. Should have been a layup, but no, just absolutely failed it. So I had high aspirations for Ibo Aslan in 2025. He's since gone 0-2. We'll see if he can end the year on a bang when he takes on the debuting Iwo Baranuski. And Iwo Baranuski, it's tough to say. Kid's 27. He's from Poland. 6 wins, 6 finishes, 4 KOs and 2 subs, all in round 1. He's never been past 4 minutes. And his win in September on the Contender Series was a 20-second knockout. Now, one thing that I like to highlight about that fight is that Muhammad Ali was 6'2" and had a 78-inch reach. In this matchup, Ibo is just 1 inch taller and actually has a lower reach. So we know that Ibo can fight up. He is a bit small for light heavyweight, but I'm just going to ride the hype train until it burns out, and it could burn out right here and then. But from what I saw in the Contender Series, I loved Iwo, and every guy they're giving a shot so far coming off the Contender Series has found success. I've watched Bosinger Sirsaikaev do it. I've watched Almak Yakiaev, the light heavyweight guy who's just going crazy, and I'm pretty confident in Iwo Baranuski here now. Ibo, if he brings it, if he can bring that Ottoman power, he can get it done, but so far, his confidence is clearly shaken. He has no takedown game, and yeah, we'll have to see what happens. After that, we move to the men's lightweight division, and if this is one of the most random fights I've seen made as Edson Barboza is finally back to take on Jalen Turner. That's right, guys. Edson Barboza, Jalen Turner throwing down to end out 2025. Of course, Edson Barboza, he's 24-13. Jalen Turner, 14-9. Not the best record. Jalen has 4 inches in height, 6'3" to 5'11", and 2 inches in reach. So, bit of height, a little bit of reach. Southpaw for Jalen, orthodox for Edson Barboza. And Edson Barboza, plus 220 underdog. Jalen Turner is coming in as the minus 270 favorite. We'll start with Edson Barboza, 39 years old. Any one of these fights could be his last. You never know. He's from Florida, trains at American Top Team. 15 of those 24 wins are by finish, 13 KOs, and he's gotten 2 subs in his career. Find that pretty goofy. 6 of his 13 losses he's been finished in, and he's gone 18-13 in the UFC. So far, he has not won since 2023. He lost a fight the night to Leron Murphy in 2024, and then lost to Drakkar Klose in August. That was just a lose-lose. That fight sucked. But Edson Barboza, been around in the UFC for 15 years, and need I remind you of some of the names he has fought in? Donald Cowboy Cerrone, Michael the Goat Johnson, Tony Ferguson, Anthony Pettis, Gilbert Melendez, Beneil Dariush, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Kevin Lee, Dan Hooker, Justin Gaethje, prime Kevin Lee, might I add that, Paul Felder, Dan Ige, Giga Chikadze. I mean, this guy has fought a number of guys, especially when they were in their prime, and now he's here to lay it down. We'll see how Edson can do. You know, he's still hunting for win number 25. He's 39, so this could be the final fight at any moment as he takes on Jalen the Tarantula Turner. And Jalen, 30 years old from California, 100% finish rate. He has also been finished in 5 of his 9 defeats. 4 by KO, oddly enough. But yeah, 10 KOs, 4 subs, 100% finish rate. He has just ran into just tough luck. You know, comes in off of the second season of Dana White's Contender Series, has to take on Vicente Luque at welterweight, who just makes quick work of him. Follows it up with a nasty knockout, then gets out-grappled by Matt Favola. Then goes on a crazy 5-fight run, finishing Josh Culiabao, Brock Weaver, Euros Mez, Jamie Larkey, and the biggest one, Brad Riddell. He would then run into Matus Gamrot and would lose a boring split decision. He would then run into Dan Hooker and lose an exciting split decision. And then his last win was against King Green, Bobby Green, in December of 2023. Nasty knockout. But at UFC 300, he had the fight sealed against Renato Moicano and tried to get a knockoff. Ended up not working out. And then last time he fought in March, he got submitted by Ignacio Bahamondes fairly quickly, and he prematurely retired. But then he came out of retirement, so now he's back. Look, it's tough to say what's going to happen here. Both guys are just, you never know. But I'm going to go with the fact that Edson's 39, that he's on his way out, and I'm going to say Jalen Turner has the skill set to finish Edson Barboza. So I'm going to go with Jalen Turner, getting this one done. Maybe we see a very sad Edson Barboza retirement here. I hope not. I kind of want to see him get a main card fight night retirement. But I am going to go with Jalen Turner here. Alrighty, Edson Barboza is a fun underdog. I would encourage you to pick him if you wanted to, but I don't know. Something about Jalen, man. Something about Jalen Turner tells me that, you know, this isn't it. Because if he loses, like, this is it. He's getting cut. And just something tells me, like, he's not done. His journey through the UFC it can't be done yet, right? It can't. Jalen, can it? I don't know, but he hasn't won in a minute, so we shall see. Moving up to the men's middleweight division, get this. Marvin Vettori versus Bruno Ferreira. That's right, the 14th ranked Marvin Vettori is on the prelims for the first time in, gosh, I don't even know how long. Actually, I think even Brendan Allen was for some reason on the prelims, which really did not make any sense anyways. But Bruno, minus 105, Vettori, minus 115. Odds makers cannot choose here. Marvin, the Italian Dream, Vettori is 19-9-1 professionally. Bruno the Hulk Ferreira, 14-2. 2 inches in height for Marvin Vettori and 2 inches in reach. He fights southpaw. Bruno fights orthodox. Let's start with Vettori because, you know, give him his credit here. Marvin Vettori's done a lot in his UFC run. You'd be surprised. The 32-year-old is easily the best Italian fighter on the roster. 11 of his 19 wins are by finish. I don't know how he ever got 11 finishes, but 2 KOs and 9 subs. And of his 9 losses, he's not only never been finished, he's never been dropped in his career. He has one of the most impressive chins we've ever seen. He is currently 9-7-1 in the UFC and hasn't won a fight since March of 2023. But Vettori, you know, came into the UFC, and through his first 5 fights, I mean, he had to fight Antonio Carlos Jr., who was a PFL champion. He had to fight Israel Adesanya, who he took to a split decision. Pretty crazy. He would then rack up his own little 5-fight winning streak before getting an official title shot against Israel Adesanya and almost beating him a couple times. His fight of the night against Paulo Costa was simply amazing. His then fight against Robert Whittaker was less than amazing. He would then fight Roman Dolidze in March of 2023, winning a boring decision, and then lost to Jared Cannonier in 2023, took all of 2024 off, and so far this year has lost a main event decision to Roman Dolidze, which was so boring, but then did lose a very exciting fight to Brendan Allen in July. So Vettori's back, looking to end the year with a bang, and he's got a solid chin, but he's taking on a guy who loves to knock people out. That's right, Bruno Ferreira, 33 years old, from Brazil. 9 KOs, 5 subs, a 100% finish rate. And get this, of his 2 defeats, he's also been finished, which means he's never gone the distance. So far, the most that this guy's ever fought in the UFC, 3 minutes into round 3 before being submitted. Other than that, he's knocked out Gregory Rodriguez, Phil Haas, Dustin Stolfus. He's been knocked out by Nursultan Ruzaboyev. And so far in 2025, 2 wins, 2 arm bars, might I add. One of them, Armin Petrosian, very impressive. The other one, Jackson McVeigh, meh. Man, that's all I'm going to say there. I know. And this one's tough. This is a very tough one to pick because, Vettori it's tricky. It's tricky. He just hasn't shown the grit. He hasn't shown the determination. And I'm a Marvin Vettori fan. I love Marvin Vettori, but I've picked him in his last 3 losses. I picked him to beat Jared. I picked him to beat Roman. And I picked him to beat Brendan Allen. Actually, I don't think I did, but oh well. So I am going to go with Bruno Ferreira to win this contest. He's actually closer to an underdog than Vettori is, but I'm picking Bruno while rooting for Marvin Vettori. And might I say, if you're ever going to see Marvin Vettori get knocked down, Bruno Ferreira has the power. He has this one-punch power with just a straight down the middle that can put your lights out. So keep your eyes peeled on this matchup because something big could happen. Either Marvin gets a win or Bruno gets a finish. No in between, in my mind. Next up, lightweight division. This is probably my favorite or second favorite matchup on the card. I mean, this fight is insane. You're going to see the highest level of unranked lightweights that you could possibly have. I mean, the winner of this is getting a ranked opponent. Winner of this could be looking at a fight night main event, as we have Nazim Black Wolf Sadikov taking on Fairs the Smile Killer Ziam. Just 2 elite level fighters here. Nazim Sadikov 11-1-1 and is on an 11-fight winning streak. Fairs Ziam 17-4. And I believe his winning streak is at, goodness me, I don't even know what Ziam's winning streak is at. We'll actually look at that in a second, but it's at like 6 or 5 fights. Bit of height for Fairs, and also a notable 6 inches in reach, but that's never stops Nazim from bringing the fight. I am noticing he's southpaw and Fairs is orthodox, notable there, and Nazim is 4 years older. And somehow is the underdog here. I mean, at plus 115, Ziam is the favorite at minus 140. And we'll start with Fairs Ziam, who's 28 years old, from France. 10 of his 17 wins are by finish, 5 KOs and 5 subs. And of his 4 defeats, he's been submitted 3 times. He was originally supposed to fight Cal Fernandez in Paris, but Cal pulled out. So sadly, Fairs did not get to fight. Last time he did fight was in February, where he beat Mike Davis. And his winning streak is at 5, now that I've looked. He's had a decent winning streak. I will say the best moment was when he knocked out Matt Frivola in Paris in 2024 with a knee to the head. That was crazy. But other than that, only 2 losses are Terrence McKinney in 2022 and Don Mage way back in 2019. So since September 2022, has not lost a fight, and he's been good. He's very technical, good striking, can mix in the grappling when he needs to, and always knows how to get the job done. But I will say, I don't think Fairs Ziam has fought someone with the killer instincts as the Black Wolf, Nazim Sadikov. Nazim Sadikov is a different breed. I thought he was going to get a ranked opponent after his win earlier this year, but I guess not. So Nazim is 31 years old from New York, but originally he's from Azerbaijan. He's on that 11-fight winning streak, which means he has not lost since his first professional defeat. And of those 11 wins, 10 finishes. Actually trains with Aljamain Sterling and Merab Dovashvili, so you get a little teammate action on this card, and this dude's been an absolute savage. In 2023, went 2-0 with a draw, and just was an absolute dog. So far this year, bashed in Ismail Bonfim's nose in round 1, forcing the fight to be stopped, and had probably my favorite fight of the year against Nicholas Mota. It's performance bonus with the knockout, fight of the night for how much of a war it was, and UFC Baku got a treat with that one. So this one's easy for me. Nazim Sadikov, I'm super high on him. He's also an underdog, which makes literally no sense. I don't know what the UFC knows. I don't know if there's some rigged betting scandal going on, but I mean, there's just no way Nazim Siddiqov is not getting this done. He's been working so hard for this. I think in the submission game, that is where he gets fair as I am. And yeah, Black Wolf Nazim Siddiqov, I'm riding with him any day of the week. Next up, our own lonely women's fight. That is right, as the number 5 ranked Maycee Barber takes on the number 9 ranked Karine Silva. And this matchup, oh my goodness. Where to begin? Maycee Barber minus 170 is the favorite. Karine Silva plus 140 is the underdog. Maycee Barber is 14-2. Karine Silva is 19-5. Both women are 5'5", 2 inches in height reach for Karine Silva. Switch stance for Barber, orthodox for Karine. Maycee's 5 years younger. That's all I got, but the number 5 ranked Maycee Barber, I have mixed feelings on. 27-year-old from Milwaukee, has 8 wins by finish, 6 KOs and 2 subs, and she's actually had 2 fights booked over the last 2 years. She was supposed to fight Rose Namajunas in Denver. She pulled out and Tracy Cortez stepped in. She was also supposed to fight earlier this year on May 31st at UFC Vegas 107, and before walking out, Erin Blanchard that walked out, we were waiting for Maycee Barber. She just didn't walk out. I don't know if she fainted. They stopped the fight, and literally right as she's about to walk out, the fight is called off. So Maycee Barber has not fought since March of 2024. So it has been, almost 2 years. Closer to 2 years than to 1 year, I'll say that. Now, I will give her credit. She's on a 6-fight winning streak. Hasn't lost since 2021. Last woman to beat her, Alexa Grasso. So, not too bad. She also holds wins over Jillian Robertson, Jessica Ai, Amanda Ribas, Caitlin Sermonera. So, some decent wins here and there, but it's just been so long. It really has, and I'm surprised she's even fighting here. I'm surprised she's trying to make flyweight again. I don't know what we're going to get when Maycee Barber steps in against Karine Killer Silva. Now, Karine Silva, I was super high on her. I was, and then she kind of got fraud checked to end 2024 when she took on Viviane Araújo. Now, the 31-year-old from Brazil has actually joined the Fighting Nerds, so she's clearly training at a better gym than she was. 17 of her 19 wins are by finish, which is very impressive. 8 KOs, 9 subs, and then of her 5 defeats, she's only ever been finished 3 times. Now, of course, her legendary winning streak ended at I don't even know, it was 11 or 12 fights when she lost to Viviane Araújo. And then she came back earlier in the year against Deone Barbosa in August, and looked decent. It was what it was. Look, like I said, I'm riding hype trains until they die out, and Maycee Barber doesn't even have a hype train, but she's got the winning streak. If she can get in the octagon, she should be able to put on a show, but if she shows any kind of ring rust, Karine Silva's going to capitalize and take her out. Mark my words. Next up, lightweight action as Terrence T-Rex McKinney takes on the problem, Chris Duncan. 17-7 is the professional record for Terrence McKinney. Chris Duncan is 14-2. Both men are 5'10". Switch stance with a 73-inch reach for Terrence McKinney, and orthodox stance with a 71-inch reach for Chris Duncan. And it's only about a year difference, couple months between these guys. T-Rex is, of course, the plus 145 underdog, and Chris Duncan is the favorite at minus 180. Very impressive. T-Rex, that's right. The man here, Terrence McKinney, is 31 years old and was born in Chicago, but now trains out of, I want to say, Orlando? I can't even remember. I believe it's Orlando now. 8 KOs and 9 subs do give him a 100% finish rate. And of his 7 defeats, he's been knocked out 5 times and submitted twice. That is right. 24 professional fights. He has never gone the distance. Get this. He's actually never been to a round 3 in his entire fighting career. That's insane. Now, Terrence McKinney was put on the highlight reel in 2024, getting head kick knocked out in 37 seconds. But came back in February, 2-minute knockout. Came back in June, 55-second submission. So he's back on a low win streak. And mind you, he's 4-1 in his last 5. And some of his losses, guys, Sean Woodson on the Contender Series, Drew Dober in just an insane 3-minute fight, Ishmael Bonfim, Nazim Siddiqov. Look, all right, Terrence McKinney has fought some super tough guys, and here's the issue. Chris Duncan's the type of guy he loses to. I think that's one of my biggest issues, is that Chris Duncan is the stereotypical guy Terrence McKinney loses to, and he's going to have to try and break the curse here when he fights him, which is not going to be easy. The 32-year-old Chris Duncan from Scotland trains out of American Top Team and has 10 of his 14 wins by finish. Chris Duncan is a very stellar 5-1 In the UFC, only losses to Manuel Torres, and he currently rides a 3-fight winning streak. He's currently 2-0 in 2025 with a submission of Jordan Vucevic in March and a fight of the night win over Matus Rebecca in August. Now, one thing I like to point out about that Rebecca fight is kind of Matus Rebecca brings out the best in people. But Chris Duncan won the final 2 rounds after losing the first. I got to throw that out there. I really do. And one thing I want to know when it comes to Chris Duncan is that, he's susceptible to getting taken down. Obviously, his 2 guillotine choke wins, he was actually taken down and was able to reverse it. But I do want to note that Terrence McKinney loves to take you down and go for your neck. So we'll see what happens. But just, taking this from an analytical point of view, I know this is MMA. Anything can happen. It's an impossible sport to predict at times, even though this has been our best year of predicting yet. I'm going to say Chris Duncan here. And this comes as being a Terrence McKinney fan. Similar to Marvin Vettori, that fight, similar to, Jalen Turner. I kind of want Edson Barbosa and Marvin Vettori to win, and I want Terrence McKinney to win. But looking at the types of guys he beats and the types of guys that he loses to, Chris Duncan is the type of guy he loses to. So I'm going to pick Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan's also been on a great run. He's been fighting super tough competition. And the winner of this, similar to Nazim Sadikov and Ziam, is going to be looking at a ranked lightweight with a win here. I can almost feel it. And then, this is just the card of lightweights, unranked lightweights, just battling here. Final prelim here as KGD Grant Dawson takes on El Loco Manuel Torres. Now, these are actually ranked fighters here. Grant Dawson is ranked number 13, and Manuel Torres is looking to become ranked number 13. I thought he was 15th, but my mistake. Grant Dawson is suspiciously a minus 210 favorite, and Manuel Torres, for some reason, is a plus 170 underdog. I don't know what they know. The bettors, the odds makers, they know something. They really do, because Manuel Torres should nowhere near be an underdog in this matchup. Now, tail of the tape here, Grant Dawson is 23-2-1. Manuel Torres is 60-3. Both men are 5'10", 1-inch reach advantage for Manuel. They both fight in the switch stance. There's about a year apart in their age. I mean, these two, size-wise, are very similar. Now, in terms of experience, a bit more pro fights for Grant Dawson, and he has fought in some high-level guys. Grant Dawson is 31 years old, and the 13th ranked lightweight is from Nebraska, but now trains out of American Top Team in Florida. Of his 23 wins, 18 finishes, 5 KOs, and 13 subs. Both of his defeats, he's been knocked out in. And yeah, he's been so far amazing in the UFC. Since joining in 2019, he's got a very stellar 10-1 with 1 draw. That lone loss was his only main event, where Bobby Green somehow knocked him out in 33 seconds. Very suspicious. So far, he has fought in 3 times since then, 2 wins in 2024, and he picked up a win over Diego Ferreira in January. So Grant Dawson hasn't fought in all year. Years kind of evaded him in terms of trying to move up with everything, but he's had some crazy moments in his career, I'll say a lot of comeback wins. Clearly, his striking is subpar, but his grappling is really good. In every single matchup that Grant Dawson has won in, he has landed a takedown. Funny enough, and he has landed multiple takedowns in almost every one of his fights. So, Grant's coming in to take Manuel down and submit him. That's the game plan. As for Manuel Torres, he'll do whatever it takes. The 30-year-old from Mexico has 15 of his 16 wins by finish, 8 knockouts, 7 submissions. All 3 of his defeats he's been finished in. And his only defeat was at UFC 306 in 2024 to Ignacio Bahamondes. He would come back earlier this year in March and knock out Drew Dober in under 2 minutes. He's also beaten Nicholas Mota, Chris Duncan, and Frank Camacho in the UFC. Yeah, this is an easy one for me. I don't know if I'm overlooking Grant Dawson here, but I just feel like he's going to get run through by Manuel Torres. Maybe that's just me being a hater, but I really feel like Manuel Torres is that guy. I really do. Something about him, Manuel Torres, just the energy he brings. I'm riding with him any day of the week. Then with that, those are our prelim matchups, and we get into the main card. And what do we kick the main card off with? How about a little top 10 light heavyweight action? As the number 5 ranked Jan Blachowicz takes on the 11th ranked Bogdan Guskov. That's right, Jan Blachowicz, who is 29-11-1, takes on the 18-3 Bogdan Guskov. 1 inch in height for Bogdan, 2 inches in reach for Jan. Orthodox stance for both. This is nuts. And also, Crazy enough, Jan Blachowicz is 9 years older than the 33-year-old Bogdan Guskov. The age difference here is wild. 42 years old. Funny enough, Glover Teixeira won the championship when he was this old. I love to always bring up that fact over Jan Blachowicz. But Jan's the favorite here, minus 135. Bogdan's the plus 110 underdog. But, the odds makers, it's pretty close. It's pretty close, I'll say. Jan Blachowicz, this could be his last fight. Jan Blachowicz could retire with any next fight he has. He's similar to Edson Barboza. It's kind of crazy. It really is. It's kind of crazy on this card. We could watch 3 just legendary fighters from the UFC retire, which I'll get to that third in a second. But Jan Blachowicz, 42 years old, from Poland. 18 of his 29 wins are by finish. 9 knockouts, 9 subs. Of his 11 defeats, he's only ever been finished 4 times, and he's gone 12-8-1 in the UFC. Jan Blachowicz has some of the, craziest lore you could ever learn. He started off his UFC run going 2-4. It was about to be cut before he stringed together 4 straight wins. He would then lose a main event to Thiago Santos in just very, very unfortunate fashion. He would follow that up with a crazy knockout at light heavyweight against Luke Rockhold, follow that up with a split decision main event win over Jacare Souza. Then he would knock out Corey Anderson in New Mexico, one of my favorite main events to watch, before winning the belt against Dominic Reyes. And then he became the first man to beat Israel Adesanya. A lot of people forget that. He would then lose to Glover Teixeira, and that was just changing of the, kind of like the guard there, before beating Alexander Rakic in May of 2022, which was his last win. He ended 2022 having a draw against Magomed Ankalaev. He would then go into UFC 291 against Alex Pereira, lose a split decision. He would then come back in March of this year in London and lose a close decision to Carlos Ulberg. So to be fair, he has lost close fights, his last 3 fights, and the last 4 guys to beat him: Glover Teixeira, Magomed Ankalaev, which was a draw, but we all know he beat him, Alex Pereira, and Carlos Ulberg. So don't really want to hold too much against Jan Blachowicz, but he is 42, and there's a changing of the guard. And that guard change starts with Bogdan Guskov getting this done. The 33-year-old from Russia has a 100% finish rate, 15 knockouts, 3 submissions. And he's been good this year. 2-0. Got a submission over Billy Alicana and a knockout in July over Nikita Krylov. He's also knocked out Zach Pelga and Ryan Spann. His only career loss is to Volkan Ozdemir on short notice in 2023. So, some of these fights, I would really love to see Jan Blachowicz win here and retire on a whim, but I gotta go with Bogdan Guskov here. I really do. He's been on a roll, and there's just this thing with MMA. You'll watch it for a while. This isn't WWE. This isn't the John Cena retirement tour. We don't get to fantasy book and have a good time. No. They take the old guys and they try and break in the new guys. And in this case, Bogdan Guskov is going to try and break in to the top 5, which I do believe he will do. But if Jan Blachowicz wants to fraud check him, any day of the week, get it done. But I don't see it. I don't see it, and I am going to go with Bogdan Guskov. And knockout's a bit risky, so we'll go unanimous decision. After that, we are going to have a retirement fight. That is right, as Triple C Henry Cejudo will be retiring. And that's right, this is the final fight for Henry Cejudo. And who's he going out against? Peyton Talbot. That's not weird at all. 16-5 for Henry Cejudo, 10-1 for Peyton Talbot. 6 inches in height for Peyton Talbot. That's right, 5'10" to 5'4", and 6 inches in reach. 70 inches to 64 inches. Wow. Switch stance for Peyton, orthodox for Henry Cejudo. And Cejudo is the plus 225 underdog. Yikes. Talbot, the minus 275 favorite. We'll start with Henry Cejudo, who is ranked number 10 in the bantamweight rankings. I think we all know he shouldn't be 10, but it is what it is. This is his final fight. Henry Cejudo is 38 years old from Arizona. 8 wins are by finish, 7 KOs, and 1 sub. And, despite not having a fight since Seattle in February, he did go out and win a grappling match in May. Do want to throw that out there, but yeah, Cejudo, a little 3-fight losing streak. Since returning to the UFC in May of 2023, he has lost to Aljamain Sterling, Merab Petr Yan, and Song Yadong. But, close decision losses to those guys shouldn't really be, held over his head too much. Henry Cejudo, do gotta give him his flowers since this may be the last time we ever cover him. I think it will be. This is the guy who started his UFC run off with 4-0, all decisions. He would kind of get a premature title shot against Demetrius Johnson, getting knocked out in 3 minutes. He would then lose a split decision to Jose Benavidez before going on a 6-fight winning streak, knocking out Wilson Reyes, beating Sergio Pez, and becoming the first man in, a while at flyweight to beat Demetrius Johnson. He would then defeat TJ Dillashaw, defending the belt, move up to bantamweight, defeat Marlon Moraes to become a double champion, and defend it against Dominic Cruz. But like all things, he returned for no reason. He actually retired too early. I do want to throw that out there, but anyways, he came back 3 years later and just wasn't the same. Didn't have the same energy, so we'll see if he brings it here in his retirement. He's just kind of been a whatever fighter. Hasn't even leaned on his grappling that much when he takes on Peyton Talbot. And Peyton Talbot is 27 years young from Nevada, minus 275 favorite. 8 of his wins are by finish, so 80% finish rate. And he came in, to this year as the hottest prospect in the bantamweight division. I mean, 2024, he had treated himself to 2 knockouts, 2 performance bonuses. He's out there hanging with Frank Ocean. He's personality out there. Then he took on Raoni Barcelos, and he was just humbled beyond belief. I mean, he was repeatedly taken down over and over and over, 8 times, might I add you, and ultimately lost a boring decision. He would come back in June, and in International Fight Week, they put him on the main card. For some reason, I don't know why, but they did. And you know what? Good for him, because he was able to get the win over Felipe Lima. But I say, the one thing I'm noticing is Peyton Talbot struggles with takedowns. So what you're going to see here, if Henry Cejudo lands takedowns, he will win the fight. If he doesn't, Peyton Talbot will win. I'm going to say, since I'm not picking Jan Blachowicz, Redson Barbosa, Henry Cejudo actually wins his retirement fight. Henry Cejudo over a premature Peyton Talbot, a little baby Peyton Talbot in the UFC verse, plus 225 underdog doesn't make sense. Something's weird here. Now, ever since this UFC betting scandal is broken, I don't trust any odds. I don't trust anything. So I'm going to pick Henry Cejudo, but go with caution here. There's a lot of underdogs on this card, which really I'm questioning. Why are they underdogs? Like Nazim Sadikov and Manuel Torres, and big one here with Henry Cejudo. But after that, we get into a flyweight matchup, and the flyweights are just on display. I mean, literally, we are getting the 3 biggest flyweight fights in the divisions over this fight card and the next fight card. I mean, next weekend, we obviously get Manel Kape number 6 against the number 3 ranked Brandon Royval. On this card, we get the number 1 ranked Joshua Van versus the champion Alexander Pantoja. And in this matchup, we get the number 2 ranked Brandon Moreno taking on number 5 ranked Tatsuro Taira. Absolutely awesome. Brandon, the Assassin Baby Moreno, back in action as he takes on the man who just got a new nickname, Tatsuro the Best Taira, who just nicknames himself the Best. I love it, Tatsuro. I love it, my Japanese prince. I rock with it all day, any day of the week. And get this, Brandon Moreno, plus 110 underdog. That's right, my boy Tatsuro Taira, minus 135 favorite. Love to see it. 23-8-2. The experience is there for Brandon Moreno, but Tatsuro 17-1. Both men are 5'7". Both men fight in the orthodox stance. Both men have a 70-inch reach, and both men fight naturally at the flyweight division. It's crazy. It's crazy. These two are just so close, so even. The only difference here, 7 years in age. We'll start with Brandon Moreno, the number 2 ranked flyweight on the planet. He is now 31 years old from Mexico. 16 of his 23 wins are by finish, and he's never actually been finished in his entire career. 8 losses, never been finished. Very impressive. And with Brandon Moreno, 11 wins, 5 losses in the UFC, decent record. And as of late, 2 main event wins to end out 2024. And earlier this year in March, got a win over Steve Ercik. Neither one were good. They were boring fights, but I do know this guy is a dog. Since the Alexander Pantoja fight in 2023, he's just kind of had some back and forth striking affairs. But gotta give Brandon Moreno his pops, man. This guy came into the UFC, was on the Ultimate Fighter, started off 3-0, then lost 2 straight. And he was cut. But he worked his way back, came back, beat Kai France, beat Jussier Formiga, knocked out Brandon Royval, or TKO'd him, I should say. Then the Quad Trilogy with Davison Figueiredo. Legendary fights, and he won. He won the Quad Trilogy, crazy enough. And that fight with Alexander Pantoja is still my favorite flyweight fight I've ever seen. I mean, it was insane. UFC 290, one of the best cards of all time. It was awesome. But yes, his last win was in March over Steve Ercik. It was whatever. Literally, it was whatever. And the judges had it 49-46 across the board. So we'll see how he does when he bounces back against my boy, Tatsuro Taira. Tatsuro, man, this guy bounced back in a big way. 25 years young, from Japan. 13 of his 17 wins by finish. Yeah, he's a finisher. Started off his run undefeated, 16-0, before running into Brandon Royval in October of 2024. He would lose a split decision fight of the night, which, it was close. It could have gone either way, I'll say that, but, I do think that he should have won, but that's just me. That's just me, don't shoot the messenger, I say. Don't shoot me, just take that with a grain of salt as you will. But he bounced back. August of this year had a main event against Hyung Sung Park, and he destroyed him. He mutilated Hyung Sung Park and submitted him a minute into round number 2. So, I don't care who it was. I don't care who it is. You could put him against Alexander Pantoja. I'm riding with Tetsuya Taira. Tetsuya Taira is one of my favorite fighters on the roster. I mean, I've gone through, if you want to watch a YouTube video on my Zach Ruger YouTube channel, I go through and find my favorite fighter, and Tetsuya Taira made it pretty deep in that little tournament that I held. So, Tetsuya Taira, I think, wins this. I think he's next for the winner of the next fight we're going to talk about, and title shots are in his future. So with that, we get into the co-main event. And the issue with the co-main main event is we're kind of just relying on upsets. Like, honestly, I'll just stick with flyweight real quick here, but we have our champion, Alexander the Cannibal Pantoja. This guy is the number 5 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, the reigning defending flyweight champion, going for his 5th title defense here. He's 30-5. The guy is ridiculous. And he's taking on a guy in Joshua Van who, is kind of just on a crazy run. Joshua Fearless Van, they don't call him Fearless for nothing, taking this opportunity. 15-2. He's only 24 years old. And he's a plus 195 underdog, and all we can kind of hope is that maybe something crazy happens. But same height for these guys at 5'5", 2 inches in reach for Alexander Pantoja. They both fight in the orthodox stance, and an absurd 11-year age difference here. Like, this is different eras of people here. But we'll start with Alexander Pantoja. The guy's just been crazy. He really has. 8 straight wins. It's been nuts. 35 years old from Brazil, trains out of American Top Team. 20 of his 30 wins are by finish. 8 kills and 12 subs. Never been finished in his career of his 5 defeats. And he's been on an absolute wild run. He's only had 1 fight so far in 2025, but he made easy work of Kai Kara-France. Before that, beat Kai Sakura. Before that, Steve Erceg. Before that, Brandon Royval. Before that, Brandon Moreno. Before that, Alex Perez. Before that, Brandon Royval. And before that, Minoke. So literally his last freaking 8 wins, his entire win streak has been over guys in the top 10. That is nuts. And it's been a run for Pantoja. Started off 2-0, then lost, then won 3 straight, then lost, then won, then lost, and has since not lost. And he is truly the number 2 greatest flyweight of all time, right behind Demetrius Johnson. And all we can kind of hope is that maybe Joshua Van pulls off an upset, but it would need to be a crazy upset. So Joshua Van is your number 1 ranked flyweight. He is 24 years young from Texas and has 9 of his 15 wins by finish. Joshua Van is currently 3-0 in 2025, so this will be his 4th fight. He beat Reis Tassura in March. He beat Bruno Silva in June, crazy performance, and then had what might just be the fight of the year so far against Brandon Royval at International Fight Week, UFC 317. So that was the fight of the night. That was amazing. And Joshua Van's only loss is to Charles Johnson. But if you know about Charles Johnson, he just upsets people. That's all he does. So Joshua Van came into the UFC when he was 20 years old. And it's just not looked back. Not looked back at all. Actually, it might have been 21, but it is what it is. He's 8-1 in the UFC at 24 years old. That's crazy, and he's getting a title shot. I love to see it, but in my humble opinion, my honest opinion here, he gets taken down, submitted within the first 2. And I don't even want to predict that, but I'm hoping we see just one of those performances that we look back and we go, wow, what an upset. But this isn't even like Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya. This isn't one of those things where it's like all the odds are all stacked against this guy. Will he win? And you kind of feel like it's meant for this guy to win. I would love to think Joshua Van is meant to win, but he just doesn't strike me as the guy to beat Pantoja. Because to beat Pantoja, you got to have takedown defense, which Joshua Van has decent takedown defense. You also got to have knockout power, which, Joshua Van has some knockout power. But from what I've seen so far, he can put on wars against Royval, but, it's a different ball game with Pantoja. So I think the Cannibal stays eaten. Pantoja gets it done. Round 2 submission again. I think he just looked better than his last fight, in my humble opinion. Same thing kind of goes for the main event. I'm not even trying to be glum here. These are going to be exciting fights, but we have the number 3 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, Merab Dvalishvili, taking on the number 3 contender, Petr Yan, and this is a rematch. We've already seen this, and it was Petr Yan getting shut out. It was actually a takedown attempts record being set by Merab Dvalishvili, but this is your fighter of the year. Win, lose, or draw. Right now I'm really feeling Merab has fighter of the year locked down. This will be his 4th title fight. of the year, for goodness sakes. Minus 480 favorite and swelling. Yan is plus 350. So if you like betting underdogs, go with pure Yan here. But Merab is 21-4. Petr is 19-5. The machine is 5'6". No Mercy is 5'7". 1 inch in reach for Merab, and he fights orthodox, and Petr Yan fights in the switch stance. The man, the myth, the legend, Merab Dvalishvili has just been nuts. He really has. The winning streak is at 14. He'll look to extend it to 15, which would tie for second longest of all time. And honestly, I don't see anything stopping him. I really don't. Not only does he look better with every fight, like that's the crazy thing. That's the one thing that Merab is just insane about, is that every single fight, from Petr Yan to Henry Cejudo, from Henry Cejudo to Sean O'Malley, from Sean O'Malley to Umar, from Umar to Sean O'Malley rematch to Corey Sandhagen, he's looked better every single time. And honestly, I just think he collects another name here. I really do. Last fight landed 20 knockdowns. Not knockdowns, that'd be crazy. Takedowns over Corey Sandhagen and knocked him down. He also submitted Sean O'Malley before that. He also became the first man to beat Umar Nurmagomedov before that. So he has had a crazy year. And last year, it was Alex Pereira or Ian Topira in your mind. I had Alex Pereira. And this year, it's Merab Dvalishvili. And no one else is really coming close. Maybe Islam Makhachev if Merab goes out there and gets knocked out. But we'll see. Right now, Merab is looking to cap off the year with his 4th title defense. Defense, for goodness sakes. We'll see how he does when he takes on Petr Yan in a rematch. And Petr Yan, 32 years old, from Russia. 8 of those 19 wins are by finish, so kind of a decision machine. Never been finished of his 5 defeats, and he's 11-4 in the UFC. And yeah, Petr Yan at one point was 1-4, and it was really looking like his time in the UFC might be over, but luckily managed to defeat Song Yadong and Davison Figueiredo in 2024, and earlier in the year in July was able to beat Marcus McGee. Now, the funny thing about that Marcus McGee fight is he lost round 1. I don't know, he just didn't dial it up. He lost round 1, and then Marcus McGee, just kind of faded late. We saw takedowns from Petr Yan in round 3, but just didn't look that impressive. For me and honest, obviously he looked like Petr Yan, but it looked like a guy who was kind of toying with his prey and not taking it serious, and I just don't think that's going to cut it. So there isn't really much you can do to I don't know what adjustments have been made since these two fought in 2023 for there to be any changes. I mean, I really don't, and I'm going with Merab. Sticking with Merab. I've rode with Merab almost all year. I had Umar defeating him, but that's because I didn't know that Merab was goated. I really didn't. I was not a Merab sympathizer just yet. So Merab over Petr Yan. I would love to see a finish, but honestly, I think I'm just going to see another grappling matchup. But I will say actually, I thought the Sean O'Malley fight was going to go the same way, and he went out there and submitted himself. Merab goes out there, maybe even knocks out a standing TKO on Petr Yan. Maybe Petr Yan gets hurt. It's just leaning against the cage and Merab is just laying into him. I mean, that would be insane. But I don't know. Something just tells me Merab is on this GOAT trip. He is truly becoming the bantamweight GOAT. And if he does this, he's my bantamweight GOAT. He's already up there, and I honestly think with this, he may have cemented it. So I'm capping off. Final title fight of 2025. Wow. And the final title fight of ESPN era. Merab Dvalishvili defeating Petr Yan by round 4 TKO. I don't know. F it. Why not? Round 4 TKO, because who cares? I have nothing to lose. I really don't. But yeah, those are my predictions for UFC 323, and should be pretty good. This is actually a really loaded card. They loaded this sucker up for the final fight of the year. I'll see if I'll be able to watch it. I obviously work Sunday morning. I work until 5 on Saturday, and, it's going to be a grind. But I'll try and catch this, maybe find a bar that's showing it or something. It's going to be good. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for today's episode. If you enjoyed it, let me know. Literally, hit me up. Hit me a little DM on the Instagram or DM on the Twitter, whatever. I don't care. I honestly don't mind. But once we're done, once the new year hits, I really want to level this up. Maybe build myself a little studio or something. And I'm kind of working on some connections. We'll see. I'm cooking some stuff up. So, ladies and gentlemen, go have an amazing weekend. Go let me know who you're riding with for UFC 323. And I'll catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.